At 9 AM Pacific time yesterday, the secret layers for Marvel went on sale, which means it went on sale at 5 PM my time. I almost missed it by an hour, my wife pointed it out, because daylight savings had changed in one of the countries or something. I thought it was going to be 6 PM still. Some of our less fortunate friends in Australia had to wake up at 4 AM to try and get hold of this limited print run product from Wizards of the Coast. The secret layer marks the very first interaction, the very first crossover between Marvel, a very big property, and Magic the Gathering. Some people hate it, some people, like myself, love it. The launch was an absolute mess, a monumental and catastrophic disaster for everyone but Wizards of the Coast, I guess. Primarily the consumer, the end user, the audience, the player, the collector, the Magic lover. We were the ones who ended up getting completely shafted. Remember, for those of you that haven't been keeping up or aren't super in the weeds with this shit like I am, print to demand is a thing that Secret Layers used to be. They are now limited. So originally you basically on the Secret Lair website during its release window and order yourself a lair. And there'd be a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks to do so. And you were not pushed by FOMO to run in there and get it as soon as you can, just in case it sells out. Wizards of the Coast have switched to this limited print run method, where they print a certain number of them, and once they're gone, and the argument is that it helps the end consumer to get their product quicker. But in reality, although there are problems with people getting secret layers 6 months plus after they'd ordered them, which was a little bit of a silly situation, people were nowhere near as pissed at that as they are at this. People queued for 4+ hours and got nothing out of it. I guess we should begin there. At 6 minutes past the hour in my beloved country, I guess everywhere, because minutes last the same amount of time, but at 6 minutes past the hour, the website shit the bed. The diarrhea dump looked like this. The line is paused. We're currently experiencing a technical issue and are working to restore the site as soon as possible. Please follow Secret Lair on X for up-to-date information. Another 5 minutes or so passed before Secret Lair actually give us any information, and the information is a similar message. It's that they're experiencing problems. 15 or so minutes pass and we're back to queuing. However, I'm in a queue for over an hour, or at least it's saying over an hour. Exactly how much more than an hour I won't find out until much later. An hour or so passes and people are checking out. People all over the country. People I know who got joined the queue at the same time as me in the UK are getting through the door and I'm still queuing. But not just me, huge amounts of people are still queuing. Some people have checked out already, buying literally thousands of dollars worth of product. I'm not sure on the exact numbers people could hold, but I've seen the number floating around that you could buy up to 6 of every item on the Secret Lair website, meaning you can pay thousands and thousands of dollars to check out the stuff. Meanwhile, someone wanting one selection of all the layers, or just one singular layer, we're left waiting. It gets worse than that. We're coming to all the real fuckery in a moment. During my time in the queue, it tells me that the arcane signet for the fucking Avengers thing, that if you spend $200, you'll get it, is out of stock. I still go ahead and buy the whole layer when I finally get through the queue at approximately 2 hours after I started. I'm kind of annoyed about this. This is one of my minor annoyances. There's a lot more coming. But the fact that they didn't print enough of the signets to give everyone who buys one bundle a signet, the fact that the FOMO was more FOMO than the rest of the FOMO is insane. And on that note, I do fucking hate all of this. And I'm gonna go more and more into how much I hate this as we go on. I hate the FOMO shit. I hate the limited print run shit. I hate that it's so positive for the company in terms of appeasing their shareholders and stakeholders and so shit for the end consumer. And the price is dog shit too. They've got me by the short and curlies because I'm into the cape shit, right? I fucking love Marvel. I love DC more, and I will be more frothing at the gash when we get Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, and Wonder Woman. The Justice League will really get me frothing, but ultimately this is kind of my jam. So I am a mild hypocrite, or in the sense that I'm observing the problem but I'm doing nothing to necessarily fix it because I'm not abstaining and voting with my wallet. I'm aware of this issue, and some people have been like really shitty towards me because of this, but what do you want me to fucking do? Do you want me to sit by and watch the thing sell out anyway and comment on it? I'm just gonna buy the fucking thing. I really want it. For the record, I abstained from the Commander Legends Commander decks because I thought they were too expensive. The Commander Masters ones too, or was it the Commander Masters one? The Modern Horizons ones, they were also too expensive. I abstained from Festival on a Box. I abstained from queuing for any of the other secret layers that involved a queue. I've never queued for a secret lair before. I've bought secret layers. I used to quite like the product line when it was printed to demand, but I've never queued for one before. And this experience was dog shit. Imagine waking up at 4 AM in fucking Australia, but you know, 4-5 hours we need to leave for work, and you spend those 4 hours queuing to get a product that then is out of stock by the time you get there, and then you can't buy the thing you wanted, and then you have to go to work. after spending 4 hours in a fucking queue. Imagine being a social worker or a driver or a teacher or any number of other jobs where you can't sit staring at your phone in the vain hope, the fucking vaguest glimmer of hope that you'll get through the queue and be able to buy some shiny renditions of your favorite Marvel characters. It's dumb. The whole thing is a terrible situation for everyone involved. Again, except for the company making the money and being able to point to this and say, whoop-de-doo, look how fucking good we did. And I want to nail down on that point for a second, right? I've got a proof to this. Chris Cox said in the investment call back at the end of October to the investors that, and I quote, this will sell out immediately. One of the reasons they're going limited run rather than printed demand is not because it will make them more money necessarily, or quite clearly. If the demand is there, they can sell a lot more products and thus make more of those profit margins to make more profit overall by going print to demand. There are logistical issues with that, which I'll come to a bit later, but the main reason the limited thing is working for them right now, and this is a bit of conjecture, but I'm pretty confident on this, is that it looks really fucking good to future collaborators and alternative brands and other IPs that they want to have as stakeholders in the future. It's very easy to walk into a boardroom full of Disney executives and argue that they should collaborate again in future, or any other conglomerate or corporation for that matter, if you can point to examples like this, where huge crossover events like this sell out by the fucking bucket load, or immediately in this case. It's not about the number of them, but more the speed of turnaround, an absolute instant success from the eyes of the company. Meanwhile, people can't get what they want. Meanwhile, people have to, if they want it, pay scalpers on the internet to get the shit. That signet I mentioned is going for like upwards of $160 right now. Storms are selling, foil storms are selling when they were $50-ish for $110 on TCG Player right now. If you do print to demand, there's a much lower incentive for people to get in at ground level, buy a fuckload, then flip them on eBay or TCG Player. That doesn't happen anywhere near as much if you do print to demand. What print to demand does for you is it allows your consumer base to get access to the product they want and give you their hard-earned cash for the overpriced thing. But that doesn't look good to the stakeholders in the future if you've got things sitting on shelves for a long time, or you struggle to fulfill procurement or sending out of the product for 6 months at a time. What this also does is it means that you don't have problems around how long you have to spend in a factory making a product. With something this big, it can cause all sorts of ball aches if they have a huge, like unforeseen amount of them needing to be made, which print to demand could have caused. What you've got to remember when it comes to Wizards of the Coast is similar to Games Workshop. They only have a certain amount of factory space to produce the products that they make. And much like Games Workshop, Wizards of the Coast make a fucking ton of product. Unlike Games Workshop, most of that product is usually available to buy. It's very rare that things are short printed. The last time I can think of this happening would have been the Fallout boosters, especially in Europe, where upon release, most stores got one box at best because the distributors couldn't provide it to them because Wizards of the Coast hadn't printed enough for some reason. Some logistical issue along the line had meant there just wasn't enough of them going out in the European region. When you're making this number of products, from the normal tentpole products to the commander products to your supplementary products to your secret layers, you still got to print it all, right? So if everything was at print to demand and they're printing this many fucking products, you have this issue where you've got to keep availability or factory availability for products that may not be selling very well. Meanwhile, you might have Marvel being printed till the end of the fucking decade because people have bought so many of them. I think the limited print run thing allows them to basically be one and done and not worry about it overlapping or bleeding into the production schedules for other products, and thus it doesn't mess with their entire logistical workflow. Again, it's a benefit to the company and a fuck to the consumer. And beyond that, it means that things don't get printed into the ground either. That these things continue to be collectible, desirable secondary market pieces, which Wizards of the Coast claim not to care about when it comes to the secondary market. They claim not to acknowledge that it exists, but they do care. If cards hold value, they are sought after. It helps the brand to look premium to the normies, to the mainstream, to the collector, and to the players. It creates a gold standard and a faith in the product that it still is thriving if you have a secondary market where cards cost money. And then you can use some of that equity, some of that goodwill to reprint things into sets to push them later down the line. In this case, it's a weird oddity about whether or not they can reprint them, coming to that more in a moment. But ultimately, when you reprint things into the dirt via print to demand, like, I don't know, a competitive staple of your, like Bitter Blossom or similar, you're going to crash the equity for that product or that card that you can put into other sets down the line. And they need to keep some equity. Wizards of the Coast has actually been pretty good at reprinting things like Fetchlands Fetchlands, for example, and other like non-reserve list duels to get them affordable for the Eternal formats, things like Modern or Pioneer, not so with Fetchlands. They need to keep that equity somewhere in some staples so they can print them down the line in a Masters or product or similar to sell packs off shelves. And on a side tangent that I wasn't going to do in this video in depth, we're still not exactly sure about how the reprints are going to work for the One Ring or the Warhammer decks, for example, because they've never highlighted where they're coming, and we've had no news from them. The only news we've had, as regards to these secret lairs that you currently can't buy because they're all out of stock, is that Mark Rosewater said that they're changing how they're doing the Universes Within. That Universes Within doesn't have a space in the list slot, but they may find space for them in the future, but they're not guaranteeing it either. The mechanically unique secret lairs, similar to Stranger Things, Street Fighter, and Walking Dead, will no longer be guaranteed a Universes Beyond or Universes Within version later in Magic. Instead, he has said that they may reprint them as the same cards, but looking different. I guess different frames or different art later. To me, this smells like Storm, Cap, Iron Man, Black Panther. Who am I missing in amongst that? Wolverine. I assume that these will all show up in some of the Marvel sets later, if with less extremely cool art and treatments and similar. How that looks in the secondary market, I don't know. I'm not a finance guy. That's not what this video is about. But to add more fuel to the fire of how much of a fucking shit show it was, the website could not cope. Like I said, they had to pause it. But the rumor amongst the winds is that the pausing was to fix some of the issues they were facing, like people cutting the queue, people getting in early, people being able to check out multiple times after queuing. Yeah, let's go through these real quick. So first of all, there was a link floating around that supposedly came from another bit of tech people have found in another secret there, where whilst you're in the queue with an item in your basket, you can click a certain link, take you straight to the checkout and get you past the queue. By the time this hit my desk, as it were, multiple people I knew had used it and it was working. There was a load of people that I know that have used the link to get through the queue without queuing, including other content creators that have shared it in their own content. This thing didn't last long. I started sharing it around as well because I think that people shouldn't have to wait in their day jobs to try and get through this fucking queue that shouldn't exist if the thing was printed demand. I think categorically we're in a situation that shouldn't really exist. However, by the time I'd shared it, the UK and US ones were locked down, and the EU one worked for another 20 or so minutes before that also got patched, I guess. But wait, there's more! Some people on Twitter and Reddit were reporting that if you change the clock on system side, on your side, not server side, you could queue early. You could not check out early, but some people had queued over an hour early to get in, way ahead of everyone else. So some people were checking out within minutes because they'd already queued an hour along to the other people, I guess, who were doing the same. Exactly how true this is, how many people did it, and how long you had to queue, I don't know. But I think it's very funny that there's so many people reporting that they managed to do this too. People have directly told me that they queued half an hour to an hour before the whole thing started. They got to get in before the going got good or bad, depending on who you ask. On top of that, some people have stated that they managed to buy multiple things and check out multiple times after queuing. And on top of all of that, you've got this issue of people buying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of product and then flipping it on eBay or TCG Player already. Like I said, there's sold item on TCG Player right now. It's fucking crazy. And I'm here without a fucking arcane signet that I really wanted to build one of my Marvel decks to be really truly Marvel themed because other people got more than one. Yeah, that's right. You got multiple signets if you bought like multiple entities of $200, which is just this crazy FOMO hype beast shit that I really fucking hate. I've said this time and time again, I was part of the original like 5 creators they reached out to do a paid promo spot for Secret Lair when it first came about, like, what was that, 4 years ago now, 5 years ago? And I still stand by the fact that I did a promo for it because at the time it was a print to demand of cosmetics. There was no mechanically unique, there was no limited supply, so you weren't queuing to hope you got the thing before the scalpers did, or anyone using any one of 3 to 4 other exploits did. It was originally print to demand cosmetics of existing cards. And it wasn't perfect then. It still had the issue of cutting out the LGS in theory, although arguably it goes back into the secondary economy of once the window is closed, some of these things are still desirable, yada, yada, yada. It was much more of an interesting and nuanced conversation than this, which is, I have hardly seen anyone happy with this shit. I've seen a couple of people claiming this was just organic demand for a very popular product. That doesn't really explain the absolutely ludicrously batshit nonsense that was going on over the course of the first 4 hours that this thing was like live. Of people getting in early, people getting in via sidestepping the queue, people being able to check out multiple times. That shit isn't organic demand. That is just a terrible fucking system that doesn't work. I saw someone else getting angry that creators were skipping the line, specifically creators and influencers, which isn't the fucking case, because multiple influencers just gave up. Rebel made a very public, like, fuck this. They had made decks ready for deck techs on the channel and couldn't get copies, so just sacked it off. They didn't want to buy into the FOMO. It was very similar to how I felt going into Festival in a box, which, by the way, a viewer that doesn't want to go on record bought me one. So I am forever fucking thankful for the support people give me with this shit. I appreciate you. I won't name you, you didn't want to be named. Thanks again. The link that was going around, the exploit, started, as far as I understand it, on Reddit. It was on Discord servers that was on. And quite frankly, I didn't give a fuck if people were using it, because the whole thing was fucked anyway. Multiple people that joined the queue at the same time I did didn't get stuff. People that joined the same time I did got stuff an hour earlier. It doesn't make any sense. The whole thing is an absolute fucking mess and a disaster. It is so, like, vehemently anti-fucking consumer, it boils my piss. And again, I've been criticized for saying anti-consumer because, and I'll quote some logic from one Twitter user, that this isn't necessary. You don't need these cards to play. Well, no, if we just say we're going to proxy everything, then arguably no Practice Wizards ever does is anti-consumer, because we can choose not to consume and proxy everything. Now, that is a stance that some people take, but it's a stance that I don't necessarily want to take. I quite like having, when the card stock's good, official card stock, official cards. I don't begrudge a secondary market existing. You are missing the fucking forest for the trees to say this isn't anti-consumer. Anything which puts the consumer at a detriment, at the benefit of the mother company, is anti-consumer. Charging you way too much fucking money if you're lucky enough to get to the door, and then bragging about the speed at which it will sell out ahead of time so that your shareholders and stakeholders will be excited, it is a fistful of fuck you to the consumer. I am fucking begging you, please go back to print to demand. It's so much better for people like myself and the people watching this video. I know it's not the absolute best outcome for Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, but sometimes you can just throw a bone to the audience, right? Sometimes you can exercise a little bit of fucking goodwill for the people at home. And lastly, if you're just fucking annoyed at people clicking early or getting in early or using the queue skip, or annoyed at people just in general buying into this because they're not voting with their wallet or whatever, I don't think the anger should be pointed at any of those categories of people. I think your anger might be misplaced. I think your anger, upset, and frustration should be at Wizards of the Coast, at this absolutely god-awful system they're using to supply us with cards. It's predatory, it's anti-consumer, and it fucking sucks. And we should be saying that. Thanks for coming from my TED Talk. There's a link to my Patreon down below. If you want to help support the channel and the show, you can get involved in my Discord server. $2 a month. Help support the show. Fuck this secret lair bullshit. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.